Before we begin, this series contains mature themes including infidelity, family betrayal, and emotional confrontation. Viewer discretion is advised. Disclaimer: this is a fictional narrative for educational and entertainment purposes. All legal strategies should be discussed with licensed attorneys in your jurisdiction. If you're experiencing similar situations, please seek professional support.
I came home 2 hours early and found my husband in bed with my sister. Not in a hotel. Not at her place. In my house. In the guest room where my father used to stay when he visited. On sheets I'd washed that morning. The Hermes scarf I'd given her for her birthday, the one she'd cried over, calling it too generous, was crumpled on the floor like trash. Her gold bracelet, our grandmother's bracelet, sat on the nightstand next to my husband's Rolex. Comfortable. Domestic. Like they'd done this 100 times before. When my husband saw me standing in the doorway, he didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't even look guilty. He said, "This house isn't even yours." That's when I knew this wasn't just an affair. This was a war. And I was about to find out I'd been fighting it alone for a very long time. That Tuesday started like any other Tuesday. I woke up at 6. Made coffee. Kissed Dylan goodbye as he left for his morning run. He smiled at me, that easy, familiar smile I'd trusted for 7 years of marriage, and he said, "Love you, see you tonight." I believed him. I got dressed for my client meeting downtown. A marketing pitch I'd been preparing for weeks. Big contract. Important client. The kind of meeting that could change the trajectory of my small consulting business. I was excited. Nervous. Focused. I had no idea my life was about to detonate. The meeting was scheduled for 10 o'clock. I arrived at 9:45, walked into the sleek downtown office, and was greeted by the client's assistant with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Mr. Peterson had a family emergency. He had to fly to Seattle this morning. He asked me to reschedule for next week." Just like that, my carefully planned day evaporated. I stood in that lobby for a moment, recalibrating. I could go to the office, catch up on emails. Or I could go home. Enjoy the unexpected gift of a quiet afternoon. I chose home. That choice changed everything. I pulled into the driveway of Willow House at 11:47 a.m. Willow House. My family home. The house my father built. The house where I'd grown up, where I'd brought Dylan as my fiancé, where we'd planned to raise our own children someday. What I didn't know yet was that everything Dylan had told me about this house was a lie. A silver sedan was parked in the driveway, in the spot next to the garage. The spot Dylan had always insisted was off-limits because it blocked his tool access. But someone was parked there now. My heart started beating faster. That low-level anxiety that tells you something's off before your brain catches up. I grabbed my purse and walked to the front door. It was unlocked. Dylan was religious about locking doors. He'd check them twice before bed. Would text me if I left without locking up. But today, the door was unlocked. I pushed it open slowly. The house was quiet. Too quiet. That particular silence that feels like held breath. And then I heard it. A laugh. Low and languid. Drifting down from upstairs. A woman's laugh. A laugh I recognized. I should have left. That's what I tell myself now. I should have walked back out that door, gotten in my car, and driven away. But I didn't. My feet carried me toward the stairs before my brain could stop them. One step, then another. Moving through something thick and heavy. Each step creaked. The third one from the bottom, the one that always groaned under weight, announced my presence. But the sounds from upstairs didn't stop. I reached the landing. Turned down the hallway toward the guest room. The door was cracked open. Just enough. Through that gap, I could see everything. Dylan's shoulders. Moving with a rhythm I knew intimately. And beneath him, dark hair spilled across the pillow. Hair I'd braided when we were children. Hair I'd helped style for her college graduation. Hair that belonged to my sister, Bethany. The designer scarf, the birthday gift she'd cried over just 3 months ago, lay crumpled on the hardwood floor. Her gold bracelet, the one our grandmother Elodie had given her on her 21st birthday, sat on the nightstand beside Dylan's Rolex. Not hidden. Not rushed. Comfortable. This wasn't a spontaneous mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was routine. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds? Minutes? Time had stopped meaning anything. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw open the door, to force them to acknowledge what they were doing. But another part of me, the part that would eventually save me, stayed silent, stayed still, and pulled out my phone. I took 3 photos through that gap in the door. My hands were shaking so badly I wasn't sure they'd be in focus. But I took them anyway. Click, click, click. The sound of the camera shutter felt deafening in my skull. And that's when Dylan's head turned. His eyes met mine through the gap in the door. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The world crystallized into something sharp and cutting. Then Dylan said the words that would echo in my mind for months. This house isn't even yours. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I can explain. Not, please, let me. Just a cold, calculated statement about property rights. Delivered while he was still in bed with my sister. That's when I understood. This wasn't about love. This wasn't about passion or chemistry or any of the things people claim when they're caught. This was about ownership. About entitlement. About taking what he thought he deserved. And I was just an obstacle in the way. Down the stairs. Through the hallway. Into the kitchen. My body was on autopilot. My mind was somewhere else entirely. Fragmenting, splintering. Trying to process what I'd just seen. I went to the kitchen and flipped on every light switch. Overhead lights. Under cabinet LEDs. The harsh fluorescence above the sink. I needed brightness. I needed a space where shadows couldn't hide anything. I stood at the kitchen counter and waited. 5 minutes later, they came downstairs. Bethany first, wearing one of my robes. Her hair messy. Her lipstick smudged, her eyes red. Dylan behind her, belt hastily fastened, shirt buttoned wrong, trying to look composed and failing. They stood in the doorway of my kitchen like children caught stealing cookies. Except they hadn't stolen cookies. They'd stolen my life. Dylan tried the script first. The one betraying husbands always use. Amber, this isn't what it looks like. Stop, I said. My voice was calm, eerily calm. I have photos. I have timestamps. I know exactly what it looks like. His face went pale. Bethany stepped forward, her voice shaking. Amber, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. It was chemistry. We couldn't. How long? I interrupted. Silence. How long? Dylan hesitated, then said quietly, a few months. I would later discover this was a lie. It had been almost a year. Get out of my house. I said quietly. It's not your house, Dylan said, and there it was again. That possessive calculation. It's marital property. I have just as much right. Get out, I repeated. Both of you. Now. We need to talk about this, Dylan tried. We need to figure out. There's nothing to figure out, I said. You made your choice. You've been making it for months. Now I'm making mine. I pulled out my phone and held it up, showing them the photos. I have evidence, I said. I have documentation. I have everything I need. So you can leave now, or I can call the police and have you removed for trespassing. Your choice. Dylan looked at Bethany. Bethany looked at the floor. And then, finally, they left. The moment the door closed behind them, my legs gave out. I slid down the kitchen cabinet and sat on the floor. The floor I'd mopped just yesterday. And tried to breathe. My husband was having an affair with my sister. In my house. For months. And his first instinct wasn't to apologize. It was to tell me the house wasn't mine. I sat there on that kitchen floor, surrounded by harsh fluorescent light, and felt my entire life rearrange itself. Everything I'd believed. Everything I'd trusted. Every memory, every moment, every promise. All of it was now suspect. Had he ever loved me? Or had I just been convenient? A means to an end? And Bethany, my sister, the one I'd defended against bullies, the one I'd helped through her breakups. Had she always resented me? Always wanted what I had? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. My phone buzzed. A text message. From Bethany. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please don't tell Mom. I stared at that message. Not I'll never see him again. Not I'll do anything to make this right. Just, please don't tell Mom. She was already managing the narrative. Already protecting herself. Already thinking 3 steps ahead. That's when I realized this wasn't over. I walked out the front door and climbed into my car. I parked under an old fig tree in the driveway at the edge of the property. The tree had been there since before I was born. It had sheltered me as a child, provided shade for countless afternoons of solitude. Now it felt like the only safe place in the world. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to decide who to call. Not my mother. She'd tell me to forgive, to think of the family, to keep it quiet. Not my father. He was gone. Had been for 2 years. But God, I wished he was here. He'd know what to do. So I called the only person I knew would never tell me to keep the peace. Olivia. My best friend since college. The one who'd never liked Dylan. Who'd always thought Bethany was too sweet to be real. She answered on the first ring. Hey, what's up? I need you, I said, and my voice finally cracked. I need you right now. Where are you? Olivia asked immediately, her voice shifting into crisis mode. Home, Willow house. Live, My voice broke completely. I found them together, Dylan and Bethany. In my house. In the guest room they've been. I'm on my way, Olivia said. Don't move, don't call anyone else. Don't do anything. I'm 20 minutes away. Live. 20 minutes, she repeated. We're going to handle this. But first, I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to forward those photos to yourself. Email them, text them to me, upload them to the cloud, make sure they exist in multiple places. Can you do that? My brain was foggy, but I understood. Evidence. Evidence, Olivia confirmed. They're going to try to spin this. They're going to try to make you the bad guy. So we need proof, we need documentation, we need everything. Okay, I whispered. 20 minutes. Olivia said again. Hold on, Amber, just hold on. I sat in my car under that fig tree and forwarded the photos. To my email. To Olivia. To a cloud storage account I'd barely used. And as I did, something shifted inside me. The shock was fading. The devastation was still there. Raw and bleeding and overwhelming. But underneath it, something else was growing. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculating kind. The kind that plans. The kind that waits. The kind that wins. Dylan thought the house wasn't mine. Bethany thought I'd stay quiet to protect the family. They both thought I was weak. Compliant. Too concerned with appearances to fight back. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Because here's what they didn't know. My father didn't just leave me Willow House. He'd protected it. Structured it. Built legal walls around it that even I didn't fully understand yet. And over the next few days, I was going to discover just how thoroughly he'd anticipated this exact scenario. My father had built me a fortress. And I was about to learn how to use it. What I didn't know yet was that this affair had been going on for almost a year. That there were hotel receipts, secret phones, evidence they'd been documenting their own betrayal. But I was about to find out. In episode 2, Building the Case, the evidence I found in Dylan's finances will shock you. The documents I discovered in my father's desk will change everything. Because this story, it's just getting started. Thank you for listening to episode 1. If this story resonated with you, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And I'd love to know, what would you have done in that moment? Would you have confronted them immediately? Or would you have done what I did, stayed silent, and started gathering evidence? Leave a comment below. I read every single one. Episode 2. Building the Case is available now. You won't want to miss what happens next. I'll see you in episode 2.